The Senate being equally divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the bill, as amended, is passed.
Senate Democrats applauding as Vice President Kamala Harris casts the tie-breaking vote, passing a landmark piece of legislation. The wide-ranging legislation called the Inflation Reduction Act addresses some key Democratic priorities, including health care, taxes on big corporations, and fighting climate change. It's the most substantial climate legislation Congress has ever passed. Senators stayed in D.C. through the weekend before their August recess as Democrats managed to get the bill across the finish line in the Senate before sending it to the House. Democrats touting today's passage.
This is something that is the result of the Democratic Party's agenda. So as we move towards the fall elections, the sharp contrast that was provided today on the floor of the Senate is going to be part of how we frame our case to the American people, why they might want to support Democrats in the elections this fall.
President Biden also reacting, tweeting in part, quote, "I ran to make government work for working families. Again, that's what this bill does." Period. Our congressional correspondent Nathaniel Reed is live on Capitol Hill with us for the latest. Hey, what's going on, Nate?
Well, this was a long, elusive bill, Lindsay, and look, it took every bit of Democrats' will within their party trying to get all the sides to work together, everyone from Bernie Sanders to Joe Manchin, something that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer highlighted in a post-passage victory press conference just a couple of hours ago after a marathon, nearly 24 hours of voting on amendments to this bill. At 38 amendments in all, Democrats were able to pass the vast majority of the Inflation Reduction Act unscathed. Let's listen.
It's been a long, tough, and winding road. We did it without a single vote to spare. To do something with 50 votes is rough. To do small things with 50 votes is rough. To pass such a major piece of legislation with only 50 votes, an intransigent Republican minority, a caucus running from Bernie Sanders to Joe Manchin. Wow.
And you might be wondering why so many amendment votes. Well, this was done through a process known as budget reconciliation. It's a very complicated process, but without going into too many of the gory details, basically Democrats can pass this bill, could pass the Inflation Reduction Act with no Republican votes. That's because they control 50 votes out of 100 votes in the upper chamber. Vice President Kamala Harris cast that decisive tie-breaking vote as president of the Senate, which is her role as vice president of the United States. The only thing that Republicans could do to try and prevent Democrats from passing this bill was to offer unlimited amendments. And they didn't offer unlimited amendments, but they offered 38 amendments, which took nearly 24 hours of continuous votes. They were in all night last night, all the way up until this afternoon, until they were able to pass the bill, something that even through the exhaustion of meeting for over 24 hours in total, was not lost on Democrats who were touting the passage of this bill as the largest investment in climate in our nation's history. Here's Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer just moments before they took that final vote earlier today.
Today, after more than a year of hard work, the Senate is making history. I am confident the Inflation Reduction Act will endure as one of the defining legislative feats of the 21st century. Our bill reduces inflation, lowers costs, creates millions of good-paying jobs, and is the boldest climate package in U.S. history. This bill will kickstart the era of affordable clean energy in America. It's a game changer. It's a turning point, and it's been a long time in coming. To Americans who've lost faith that Congress can do big things, this bill is for you. To seniors.
And Lindsay, it's no doubt that this bill is going to be a huge part of Democrats' midterm strategy, trying to make clear that they're able to actually exact change after what for many Democrats was a frustrating 2 years in Congress, being unable to pass many major bills, including Build Back Better, an earlier version of the Inflation Reduction Act. Because of those slim margins, the fact they were able to get this across the finish line is going to be a major selling point, especially to skeptical Americans who have seen 2 years of Democratic control and a Democratic president, who are going to be going to the polls this November to decide whether Democrats should keep control of the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. They're currently not favored to keep control of the House. Clearly, this is going to be a big part of their closing argument as we inch toward the midterm elections less than 100 days away.
Wow, less than 100 days. Yeah, Nate, no doubt this is a big deal, but it's not a done deal. The House still needs to take it up, but they're on recess.
That's exactly right. They're going to be returning from recess briefly this coming Friday. That's according to House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, the Democrat from Maryland. They'll come in, they'll vote on it. It seems like a lot of the skeptical Democrats have put out statements recently. Democrats who are skeptical about some of the tax changes in this bill. Remember, this bill implements a corporate minimum tax of about 15% on some of the largest corporations in the U.S. Skeptical Democrats appear to be buoyed by the fact that individual taxes on Americans, for the most part, are not going to be raised or changed. So it appears, as we stand here today on Sunday, this bill is poised to make it through the House of Representatives. But it's worth noting, Lindsay, it's going to make it through, but with no Republican votes. Democrats, as they did in the Senate, are likely going to be sending this through to the president's desk with no Republican support.